Hey, what's up, stock compounders? Brad here. So I am still here in sunny Florida, Sarasota, Longboat Key, but it is a special time of the year right now. This is the sixth batch of Magic Formula stocks that I'm buying in my modified Magic Formula portfolio. Okay, so I wanted to share these with you the same day I'm buying them. I just bought them about 30 minutes ago. So, just a quick recap. What I'm doing every quarter is I'm basically downloading a list of the top Magic Formula investing stocks according to Joel Greenblatt's Magic Formula screener. So I pull the top 50 for 50 million minimum market cap, and then I change the minimum market cap to 500 million. And then I see, which new entries come up. So as of the screen that I just ran, there were 67 Magic Formula stocks that came up for both that minimum 50 million market cap, and then when I added the 500 million market cap, there were an additional 17 companies that turned up. So the first filter I'm using is the business either owned by a guru, as indicated by Dataroma, or is there a write-up in Value Investors Club? Now, this first sort of combined filter tells me, does a smart investor own this company? Okay, and that's the first initial filter. And then, of course, the next filter is insider ownership. Okay, I'm just going to jump over to this page here. So is at least one of these two criterias met? Does a great investor on Dataroma own it, or is there a recent VIC write-up? And I identified recent VIC write-ups as being written within the last 3 years. So since September of 2018, at least something in there. Now, it couldn't have been a short thesis in Value Investors Club. It had to be a long thesis. So that's the criteria there. My next big filter is insider ownership. All right. Are the people who are closest to this business willing to own equity? Right. So the first one, do smart investors own it? The second one, do insiders own it? Now, if insiders aren't willing to have skin in the game, in the business that they are running, that they're managing, why should I want to own that business? Okay. And this is a big filter I picked up from author of 100 Baggers, Chris Meyer. And Charlie Munger talks a lot about incentives, how important incentives are in dictating how people behave. In this case, how management teams behave. Are they really incentivized to transfer value to shareholders over time? Or are they going to find ways to just transfer value to themselves and kind of leave shareholders out of it? So those are the big initial two filters. For the screen this time, this is the sixth time I'm doing this. Unfortunately, there were a lot on the screen that I had already bought in my Magic Formula portfolio. So all of these companies crossed off here, and this score is just, if there's a guru that owns it, it gets 1 point. If there's a VIC write-up in the last 3 years, it gets another point. So scores of 2 met both of those criteria, and you can scroll down to see scores of 1 and then scores of 0. If it had a 0, it didn't make it to the next section where I looked at insider ownership. But yeah, all these that are crossed off, I already own in the Magic Formula portfolio, right? I've already done 5 batches of this, which means I've bought 25 Magic Formula stocks because I buy 5 each quarter. So, that took off a lot of pretty good in terms of insider ownership options here. So if we go to the final list, I sorted this by insider ownership. Okay, So Guru and VIC, it really just had to have one of those. And then I sorted by insider. So score of 2 versus 1 doesn't bring it any higher on the list. So you can see there's a couple here with very strong insider ownership. Okay, we have The Buckle, which is a retailer. We've got Tilly's, 27% insider ownership. That one is a little complicated to calculate because there are A shares and B shares. B shares have 10 times the voting rights as A shares, but the same economic value. So you've got to do a little bit of math there to back out this 27%. So pretty quickly we get into not so compelling insider ownership, right? We're in the single digits just by the fourth company on this list. And then I ended up buying 2 that had a 4% insider ownership, okay? I really like to see above 10% insider ownership, but because there were so many on the list already that I already owned in the Magic Formula portfolio, I couldn't be very choosy this time with insider ownership. Now these last columns, one of them, I used to filter out one option. I like to look at debt as compared to the last 12 months of operating income, okay? And I got this metric from Phil Town. And the idea here is if you can't pay off your debt within 3 years of operating earnings, you may be over leveraged, okay? That leaves you exposed to negative events that can really put the company at risk of bankruptcy. So, and of course, if a company declares bankruptcy, the vast majority of the time, equity holders are wiped out, right? That's when the stock goes to zero. So we really want to avoid that situation. Now, Weight Watchers International, debt to last 12 months operating income over 7 times, okay? So, and this is net debt. So you take the total debt, you subtract the cash on the balance sheet, and you come up with net debt. Now, some of these had negative net debt. That's great, right? That means net cash on the balance sheet, more cash than debt, which is a fantastic position to be in, very strong balance sheet. That was true for The Buckle. That was true for Siga Technologies and Nautilus. So unfortunately, Weight Watchers, I had to say bye-bye. Just too high with the debt, over leveraged in my opinion. So I did buy Buckle, I bought Tilly's, very happy with those numbers. So I mentioned net debt to operating income. We also have acquirer's multiple. This is a metric from Tobias Carlyle in his book by the same name, The Acquirer's Multiple. And this is really enterprise value divided by operating income, okay, over the last 12 months. So it basically tells you, if you were to buy the business out of operating earnings, how long would it take? How many years of operating earnings would it take to buy the whole business? And that's equity, that's including debt, that's backing out cash, also factoring in, minority interest in the business. So you can see here, really anything less than 10 is a very attractive acquirer's multiple. And you can see there's a number here that are under 10. Buckle at 7, Tilly's at 9. Look at this, Nautilus at a 2x acquirer's multiple, okay? That is insane. I don't know that I've ever seen a number that low for a company on the Magic Formula, all right? So, investors potentially thinking, all right, this pandemic is drawing to a close. There aren't going to be nearly as many people buying home exercise equipment. So, there's a lot of people fleeing Nautilus. That's one perspective. But of course, as investors, we all have to make our own case for these different investments. And when you buy something at a 2x acquirer's multiple, there's a lot of room for error. to still do well, at least in my opinion. So, and especially when you have a net cash position on the balance sheet. And then finally, we have gross margin. Now, this is one I picked up from Terry Smith of Fund Smith. Investing for Growth is the book that I read that really got me thinking about metrics that indicate how high quality a business is, and really how how well positioned a company is to deal with inflation, right? So Terry Smith argues that if you have a high gross margin, let's take which is the highest on here, 81%, right, for COLL. If I have an 81% gross margin, it means I'm spending 19 cents on my products that I can sell for $1. Okay, so that's a very impressive markup for a company like that. And the more I can mark up my products, and the market is willing to bear that kind of market or markup, there's an argument to be made that indicates how much pricing power I have, and how much I can further increase prices without losing customers, which is a very powerful position to be in, particularly for coming into a time of increasing inflation. So I didn't really use this column, gross margins, to dictate what I bought. I just want to start tracking that in my Magic Formula portfolio. So these are the 5 I bought. The Buckle, Tilly's, City Trends was number 3. Oh, I just want to mention the reason I got rid of Big 5. Okay, Big 5 Sporting Goods, I think is what that is. In terms of guru ownership in Dataroma, this was less than 1/10,000th of the portfolio. Okay, I think this is from Lee Ainsley. I noticed Lee Ainsley seems to put a lot of teaser positions in his portfolio. And there's a lot of them that show up in the Magic Formula. So it's possible he's using the Magic Formula, maybe in combination with some other screeners, to put these teaser positions into Maverick, which is the fund that he runs. But with the teaser position, I'm not comfortable calling that a guru investor position, okay? Because there's really no conviction behind it. When in the case of Sleep Number, you have 1/5000th of the portfolio in Sleep Number. Okay, that's really, it won't allow me to sleep well at night with that level of conviction. It's really just a teaser, like I said. So I went in and I highlighted red where there wasn't a recent VIC write-up, and it was really just a teaser position, and I excluded those from consideration in this round of Magic Formula stocks. So that excluded Big 5, it excluded Sleep Number, and it excluded this pharmaceutical company, Collium or something. I forget the name. It's too bad Sleep Number just missed it by a month. If the write-up had been 1 month more recent, from September of 2018, could have included Sleep Number. Again, the debt on Sleep Number was a little bit high, just a shade over 3x, which is kind of my threshold. So I also could have excluded it based on the level of debt compared to operating income. So I didn't feel too bad for excluding Sleep Number based on this conviction. So like I said, 3rd was City Trends. Number 4, Siga Technologies. Again, we've got a net cash position, which is great, very high on the gross margins. I think most pharmaceutical companies that show up in the Magic Formula are going to have pretty high gross margins. I think usually how they get in there is they have a great last 12 months from an earnings perspective, and that works wonders as well for the margins. And finally, Nautilus. Again, Nautilus, a 2x acquirers multiple, just phenomenal. We're going to see how things pan out over the next couple of years for Nautilus. But with that kind of a cushion, paying that low of a price, I feel pretty good about Nautilus. Yeah, so those are the 5. Let me know what you guys think of those 5. If you guys have had any magic formula buys recently, let me know in the comments what those were and how you arrived at those particular purchase decisions for the magic formula. And I didn't reveal any performance numbers for this round. I'm going to do that annually. So I think I did that in the last video for the magic formula back at the end of June. Yeah, because that would have been the 1 year for when I started the magic formula. So I'll do that annually. I don't feel the need to do that every quarter. I think that's probably overdoing it with the performance numbers, because you can't tell how well any particular approach is working from quarter to quarter. It really takes a longer time frame to analyze the numbers over. So I don't feel any reason to do that more frequently. I think it's just sending the wrong message about how meaningful those numbers are, or meaningless in this case. So keep an eye out for those videos as well. If you have any questions, obviously this is a modified magic formula approach. It's not by the book what Joel Greenblatt recommends in the little book that beats the market. I think this is going to do better over time than that sort of mechanical approach. I could very well be wrong, okay? Obviously, I'm doing this to test that thesis. But, this isn't necessarily the best way, and I'd like to get simpler over time. Okay, this actually takes quite a bit of time to look up, 67 different companies in Dataroma, in Value Investors Club, and then, a dozen or so, more than a dozen, 2 dozen, 31 stocks I looked up the insider ownership information for, which is not a short process there either. So over the years, I'd like to make this shorter, maybe just have a couple metrics, but this is as simple as I've arrived at for now. So we'll just keep trucking away with this one. And see where it goes, see where it leads. None of this is set in stone, but I've been happy with my performance to date since starting this. Obviously, the market has done very well as well, but we're just going to keep it going. So look for the next one in 3 months. And again, let me know what you guys are finding out in your own experiments around the magic formula. I learned a lot from you guys, so let's keep that going as well. All right, guys, from sunny Florida, signing off. I will see you all in the next video. Take care.